courtroom at Fort Bragg smelled like old wood and fresh fear. Captain Kieran Ashford stood at attention before the panel of 5 officers, hands at his sides, back straight, eyes forward. Special Forces training didn't leave you even when everything else did. The panel sat elevated behind polished mahogany. Lieutenant Colonel Harrison in the center, 2 majors flanking him, 2 captains at the ends, all of them older, all of them looking at Kieran like he'd already been buried. Harrison cleared his throat. The sound echoed in the silent room. Captain Ashford, you have been found guilty of unauthorized disclosure of classified information, guilty of theft of military records, guilty of conduct unbecoming an officer. The words landed like body shots, precise, deliberate, designed to break ribs. Kieran didn't move, didn't blink. That's what they wanted, a reaction, proof of guilt written on his face. He'd give them nothing. This panel recognizes your prior service, Harrison continued. His voice carried the practiced tone of a man who'd delivered this speech before. Your deployments, your commendations. But these crimes cannot be overlooked. They strike at the heart of military discipline and national security. Behind Harrison, morning light filtered through tall windows. Dust particles drifted in the beams. Kieran focused on them, counted them, anything to keep his breathing steady. The sentence of this court-martial is as follows. Harrison paused. 30 years of command presence compressed into silence. Dishonorable discharge from the United States Army, forfeiture of all pay and allowances, confinement for 5 years at the United States Disciplinary Barracks, Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. 5 years. The number sat in Kieran's chest like a stone. Heavy, immovable, real. Do you have anything to say, Captain? Kieran met Harrison's eyes. Gray, tired. The eyes of a man following orders he didn't question. I didn't do this, sir. Harrison nodded once. Not agreement, acknowledgement. The nod of a judge who'd heard it all before. The evidence says otherwise. MPS will escort you to pretrial confinement pending transfer. 2 military policemen stepped forward. Young, maybe 23. They wouldn't meet Kieran's eyes either. The left MP produced handcuffs, standard issue, steel. The click of the first cuff around Kieran's wrist sounded impossibly loud. Kieran scanned the courtroom as they secured his hands. 30 people in attendance. Most were JAG officers, legal staff, court reporters, a few senior NCOs who'd come to watch a captain fall. One face stood out. Colonel Garrick Thorne, 3rd row, aisle seat, 57 years old. Silver haircut, military short, uniform pressed to knife edges, ribbons spanning 3 decades of service, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, Defense Superior Service Medal. Garrick's face showed nothing, no satisfaction, no anger, no emotion at all, just watching. Their eyes met for 3 seconds. Garrick nodded, small, almost imperceptible, the gesture of a man confirming a job completed. Kieran looked away first, not from fear, from calculation. Let Garrick think he'd won. Let him think Kieran was broken. The MPS guided him toward the side door, the one that led to the holding cells, not the main exit. Convicted men didn't leave through the front. As they moved, Kieran caught one more face in the crowd. Captain Stellan Thorne, Garrick's nephew, Kieran's former friend. Stellan sat in the last row, 35 years old, Ranger qualified, someone Kieran had trusted completely 6 months ago. Stellan was looking down, hands folded in his lap, jaw tight. He wouldn't look up. Couldn't, because he knew. The door closed behind them with a sound like finality itself. The holding cell was 8 feet by 10, concrete walls, steel bunk, toilet in the corner. No privacy, no dignity. Kieran sat on the bunk, metal frame cold, even through the thin mattress. He'd slept in worse. Mountainside in Afghanistan, desert floor in Iraq, jungle hides in Panama. But those places had purpose, mission, objective. This was just waiting. The door slot opened. A guard's face appeared. Young, couldn't be more than 25. Ashford, you got a visitor. Kieran stood. Who? Didn't say. Legal counsel, maybe. They cuffed him again, led him down a corridor painted institutional gray. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Every third one flickered. The visitor room had a table bolted to the floor. 2 chairs, a mirror on one wall that wasn't really a mirror. The woman waiting wasn't his lawyer. Corporal Isabel Ravencroft stood when he entered. 28 years old, blonde hair pulled back in regulation, paralegal insignia on her Class A uniform. Eyes red like she'd been crying recently but refused to now. The guard secured Kieran's cuffs to the table ring. Checked twice. Left without speaking. Isabel sat slowly, placed a manila folder on the table but didn't open it. Derek was my friend, she said. Kieran's younger brother. Lieutenant Derek Ashford. Dead 14 months ago. Officially ruled accidental drowning during a training exercise at Fort Benning. I know, Kieran said. He came to me 3 weeks before he died. Said he'd found something about your father, about Panama. Kieran kept his face neutral. The mirror wasn't really a mirror. He asked me to help him investigate, Isabel continued. I told him to go through proper channels, file a formal request, do it by the book. Her voice cracked slightly. I told him to wait. She looked down at her hands. 2 weeks later, he was dead. And I knew. I knew it wasn't an accident. But I didn't say anything. I was scared. I had my career to think about. My future. Kieran waited, let the silence work. Then they arrested you, Isabel said. And I watched the trial. I saw the evidence, the documents they said you stole, the computer logs, the witness testimony. She finally met his eyes. It was too perfect, too clean, just like Derek's accident was too convenient. Why are you here, Corporal? Because Derek trusted me and I let him down. Because you're being framed and everyone's too blind or too scared to see it. She pushed the folder toward him. And because I found something. Kieran glanced at the mirror, then back to Isabel. You shouldn't be involved in this. I'm already involved. Derek made sure of that. She opened the folder. Inside was a single photograph, blurry, taken from distance. 2 men standing beside a black sedan. Kieran recognized both, Colonel Garrick Thorne and Boyd Merrick. Merrick was civilian now, security contractor. But Kieran knew his history, former military intelligence, specialist in wet work, the kind of operator who didn't officially exist in any database. When was this taken? Kieran asked. 48 hours before Derek died. Parking lot outside Fort Benning's south gate. Isabel's voice steadied. Professional now. Derek sent it to me with a message. Just 2 words he knows. Kieran studied the photo, Garrick's hand on Merrick's shoulder. The posture of men who'd worked together before. You can't show this to anyone, Kieran said quietly. They'll bury it. And you. I know, that's why I'm showing it to you. Isabel leaned forward. Derek had files, encrypted. He told me where to find them if anything happened. I have them, but I need the decryption key. I don't have it. Yes, you do. Derek said you'd know, said it was something only the 2 of you would understand. Kieran thought back. 14 months. Derek's last phone call, 40 seconds before the line went dead. Big brother, I found it. Northwood wasn't incompetence, it was deliberate. I've got the proof, I'm coming to you. And remember, always trust the river. Always trust the river, their father's words. Major William Ashford. Every fishing trip. Every camping weekend. The News River outside Durham. Their childhood. Their code. I need you to go to Durham, Kieran said. My father's house. Still in my name. The deed's in my service records. What am I looking for? Basement. Northwest corner. Loose stone. Behind it there's a waterproof case. Derek's laptop. The key is coordinates. 35.96 north. 78.87 west. Isabel wrote quickly. What's there? The fishing spot where Derek caught his first trout. He was 9. Dad made him release it. Derek cried for an hour. Kieran paused. The password is our mother's maiden name. Lowercase. Winters. And the files will tell you why 11 soldiers are dead, why my father was blamed for an ambush he didn't cause, and why Derek and I were next on the list. Isabel closed the folder, hands steady now. They'll court-martial me if they find out. They'll do worse than that. I know, she stood, but Derek was right about something. Some things matter more than career. The guard opened the door. Time up. Isabel walked to the exit, stopped, turned back. Kieran, why did Garrick frame you? Why not just kill you like the others? Kieran had thought about that every hour since his arrest. Because I came back from the Gulf with a Bronze Star and a reputation. Too many people knew me. Too much attention if I died suddenly. He met her eyes. A public court-martial destroys my credibility. Makes anything I say look like the accusations of a disgraced officer. And in prison, he didn't finish. Isabel understood. In prison, you're just another inmate. Vulnerable. Isolated. And accidents happen all the time. She nodded once. The same nod Garrick had given him in the courtroom. But this one meant something different. This one meant war. The Su-130 descended through cloud cover like a gray whale breaching. Kieran watched North Carolina appear through the small window. Green, brown, the colors of home after 6 months of desert tan. February 1992, Gulf War officially over. Operation Desert Storm complete. Coalition victory. 100-hour ground war. Minimal casualties on the American side. The news called it surgical. Precise. The future of warfare. The soldiers knew different. War was still war, still blood and sand, still friends who didn't come home. But they'd done their job, done it well. Kieran felt the wheels touch tarmac. Pope Air Force Base, Fort Bragg adjacent. The C-130 taxied past rows of transports. The machinery of deployment and return. The cargo ramp lowered. February air hit his face. Cold after Kuwait, clean after months of oil fire smoke. Soldiers filed out. Families waited on the tarmac. Wifis, children, parents. The reunion Kieran had watched a dozen times. Always moving, always intimate, always private even in public. He scanned the crowd. No one waited for him. His father dead 2 years. Heart attack. Official cause. Kieran knew better. Men didn't die of broken hearts in medical journals. But they did in real life. His mother gone longer. Cancer. When Kieran was 16 and Derek was 12. And Derek who should have been here. Derek who'd written every week during deployment. Derek who'd said he had something important. Had to wait until Kieran got back. Had to tell him in person. Derek who'd been dead 4 months. Kieran collected his duffel from the cargo handlers. Signed the manifest. Headed for the parking lot where he'd left his truck. The F-150 started on the third try. Battery weak from sitting. He'd deal with it later. Durham was 2 hours east. Kieran drove in silence. Radio off, windows down. Letting the familiar landscape reset something in his brain. The house was exactly as he'd left it. Small, 2-bedroom, white paint peeling. The place their father had bought after the discharge. After the accusations. After everything fell apart. Major William Ashford. 22 years of service. Ranger qualified. Airborne. 2 Bronze Stars. A career built on competence and courage. Destroyed in one night in Panama. Kieran parked in the driveway. Sat for a moment. The house looked empty. Was empty. Would always be empty now. He forced himself out. Unlocked the front door. The smell hit him. Closed air. Dust. Absence. Mail piled inside the slot. Bills. Advertisements. Condolence cards from November. From Derek's funeral. Kieran hadn't been there. Deployed. The Army flew his body back to Arlington. Buried him with honors. 28 years old. Kieran dropped his duffel. Walked through rooms he'd grown up in. Living room. Kitchen. His old bedroom. Derek's. Derek's room still had posters. Metallica. Led Zeppelin. A Tar Heel basketball schedule from 1988. Frozen in time like a museum. On the desk. A photograph. The 4 of them. Mom. Dad. Kieran at 17 in his high school football uniform. Derek at 13 with braces and a too big smile. Before cancer. Before Panama. Before everything. Kieran put the photo face down. Couldn't look at it. He went to the basement. Pull chain light. Concrete floor. Dad's workbench still covered in tools. Projects half finished. A life interrupted. Northwest corner. Isabel would come here eventually. But Kieran needed to see it first. The loose stone was exactly where it should be. Their father had shown them once, a hiding place, for important things, for emergencies. Kieran pried it free, reached into the gap. His hand found the waterproof case. Military issue. Olive drab, he pulled it out, opened the clasps. Inside, Derek's laptop, an older model, IBM ThinkPad, black, worn from use, and a package, wrapped in plastic, sealed with tape. Kieran opened it carefully. Inside, papers, printed emails, photographs, and a note in Derek's handwriting. Big brother, if you're reading this, I'm probably dead. I know how that sounds. Paranoid, dramatic. But I'm not wrong. I've been investigating Dad's case. What really happened in Panama. And I found it. The proof. Uncle Garrick didn't make a mistake. He knew about the ambush. He sent Dad's team in anyway. 6 men died. Dad got blamed, and Garrick got promoted. I have evidence. It's on this laptop. Encrypted. You know the key. The river. Always trust the river. But there's more. It's not just Panama. There's a pattern. Soldiers dying, always in Garrick's units. Always ruled accidents. I've counted 7, maybe more. I'm going to confront him. I know you'd tell me not to. You'd say gather more evidence first. Build an airtight case. But I can't wait. These were our brothers in arms. And someone has to stand up. If something happens to me, finish this. Don't let them bury it. Don't let Dad's name stay dirty. I love you. Derek. Kieran read it twice. Then a third time. The date on the note, October 1991. 3 weeks before Derek died. 3 weeks before the training accident that wasn't an accident. Kieran sat on the basement floor, back against cold concrete. The note in his hands. Derek had confronted Garrick, had threatened to expose him. And Garrick had eliminated the threat. Simple, efficient, professional. Just like the other 7. Just like he'd eliminate anyone else who came close. Kieran's hands didn't shake. His breathing stayed even. Training held. But inside, where training didn't reach, something crystallized. Not rage. Rage was wild, undisciplined, useless. This was colder, sharper, more patient. Purpose. Derek had started this investigation, had died for it, but he'd left the map, the evidence, the key. Kieran would finish it. Not for revenge. Revenge was personal, emotional. This was bigger. 7 soldiers, maybe more. Men who'd served honorably, died suspiciously, buried under official reports and closed investigations. And his father, Major William Ashford, blamed for an ambush he didn't cause. Dishonored, destroyed. Dead of a broken heart the medical examiner called natural causes. Kieran stood, put the laptop back in the case. The note, the documents, sealed it again. Replaced the stone. He had 6 months, maybe less. Before Garrick realized Derek had a brother who wouldn't let it go. 6 months to gather evidence, build the case, find the truth. And then, when the case was airtight, when the proof was undeniable, he'd burn Garrick's world to ash. The Durham Public Library opened at 9. Kieran was there at 8:55. He couldn't use military computers. Too easy to trace, too easy to monitor. If Garrick had people watching, and he would, he always did. Civilian internet, public access, anonymous. The librarian, an older woman with gray hair and reading glasses on a chain, checked his ID, assigned him Terminal 7. Kieran logged in, opened an encrypted email account Derek had created. The password was in the notes. Another family reference. The name of their childhood dog. Ranger. 15 emails, all from Derek to himself. Sent between August and October 1991. Digital breadcrumbs. Kieran opened them chronologically. August 12th. Started looking into Dad's Panama after-action report. Doesn't match casualty timeline. 6 KIA. But medical examiner reports show different times of death. Spread over 4 hours. Doesn't fit sudden ambush narrative. Need to find original intelligence report. August 19th. Requested Panama files through FOIA, denied, classified, even though operation was 3 years ago. Why still classified? What are they hiding? August 26th. Talked to Warrant Officer Beckett. He was on the operation, one of the survivors. He said intelligence warned them about enemy positions. Said the warning came 6 hours before mission launch. Said Major Ashford wanted to abort. Was overruled by command. Command was Garrick Thorne. September 3rd. Beckett won't go on record. Too scared. Says men who talk about Panama have bad luck. Showed me a letter. 5 soldiers from that operation. 3 dead in the last 2 years, training, accidents, car crashes, 1 suicide. Beckett thinks he's next. Moving to Montana, going off grid. September 10th, found something. Payment records, DOD contractor invoices. Shell company called Northwood Solutions. 3 payments, each $50,000. Dates match 3 of the accident deaths. Coincidence number, but can't prove connection yet. September 18th, cross-reference Northwood Solutions. It's a ghost, no physical address, no employees. Just a registered agent in Delaware, but bank account is active. Trace payments back to, holy shit. The account gets funded from a DOD slush fund. Black budget. Garrick has signing authority. September 24th. There's more. Found 6 other cases. Soldiers who served under Garrick. All died within 2 years of rotating out of his command. All ruled accidents or natural causes. But the pattern is clear. He's cleaning up, eliminating anyone who knows too much. October 1st. I know what happened in Panama. Garrick received intelligence about the ambush. Solid intel, but he ignored it. What? Because if the mission failed, if soldiers died, he could blame Major Ashford. Dad's methods were always aggressive, always pushing limits. Perfect scapegoat. 6 men died. Dad got court-martialed and discharged, and Garrick got promoted to colonel, stepping over corpses to climb the ladder. October 8th, confronted Stellan, asked if he knew what his uncle did. He got defensive. Said I was disrespecting a decorated officer. Said I was letting grief cloud my judgment. But I saw his face. He knows something. Or suspects. Maybe he's scared too. October 15th. Meeting Garrick tomorrow. Told him I have questions about Dad's case. He agreed to meet, off base. Private. Said he wants to help me find closure. Bullshit. He wants to know what I know, how much I've found. I'm bringing protection. Carrying my sidearm, recording device in my jacket. Whatever happens, there'll be evidence. October 16th. If you're reading this, I'm dead. Garrick called this morning. Changed the meeting location. Wants to meet at the training range. Building 7. 2100 hours. It's a trap. I know it's a trap, but I have to go. Have to confront him. Have to try. Big brother, finish this. Don't let them win. Always trust the river. I love you. The final email, October 16th, 1991. Derek died October 17th. Found in a flooded drainage ditch during a night land navigation exercise. Ruled accidental drowning. Case closed. Kieran read every email 3 times. Memorized names, dates, details. Warrant Officer Flynn Beckett, Montana. Off-grid, Northwood Solutions, Shell Company. Payment conduit, 6 soldiers, dead. Pattern clear. And the core truth. Garrick Thorne had sent Major William Ashford's team into a known ambush. Had sacrificed 6 men. Had destroyed a good officer's career. Had murdered anyone who got close to the truth, including Derek. Kieran cleared the browser history, logged out, returned the terminal. The librarian smiled. Find what you needed. Yes, ma'am, thank you. Outside, February sun cut through thin clouds. Cold light, hard shadows. Kieran walked to his truck, started the engine, sat. The smart play was to take this to CID, Army Criminal Investigation Command. Let them handle it. Official channels, proper procedure. But Derek had tried proper channels. FOIA request denied. Witnesses too scared to talk. Investigations that went nowhere. Because Garrick had protection, had connections, had 30 years of building a network that covered his tracks. Going official meant alerting Garrick, meant giving him time to destroy evidence, eliminate witnesses, disappear into retirement with full honors and a fat pension. No, this had to be done differently, carefully. The way Kieran had run operations in hostile territory, gather intelligence, identify targets, build the complete picture before striking. And when he struck, it would be total, overwhelming, undeniable. Garrick would have no warning, no escape, no mercy, just like he'd shown Derek. Kieran pulled out of the parking lot, headed back to Fort Bragg. He had work to do. 3 months passed like water through a sieve. Kieran worked his normal duties, training company, running lanes, evaluating candidates for Special Forces selection, the routine of garrison life after deployment. But every spare hour went to the investigation. He couldn't do it alone, couldn't access classified files without authorization, couldn't travel to Montana to interview Beckett without raising flags. He needed help, someone with access, someone he could trust. The problem was trust. Derek had trusted Stellan, had told him about the investigation. 2 weeks later, Derek was dead. Stellan might be innocent, might have mentioned it to his uncle innocently, might not have known, or might have known exactly what would happen. Kieran couldn't risk it. He settled on a different approach. Subtle, indirect, intelligence gathering through open sources. The Fort Bragg Library had archived newspapers, Stars and Stripes, Army Times. He searched obituaries going back 10 years, found them. The soldiers Derek had listed, Sergeant Marcus Brennan, 1985. Vehicle accident during convoy training, age 26, Lieutenant James Holloway, 1987. Friendly fire incident during night exercise, age 29, Corporal Vincent Hayes, 1988. Fall from rappel tower, equipment failure, age 24, Sergeant Nathan Cross, 1989. KYA Panama, part of Major Ashford's team, age 31. Specialist Roland Finch, 1990. Helicopter crash, mechanical failure, age 23. Each obituary listed their service history. Each had served in units commanded by Garrick Thorne. Each died within 18 months of rotating out. 7 names, 7 deaths, 7 accidents, The probability of coincidence approached zero. Kieran documented everything. Careful notes, dates, locations, unit assignments. He kept the files encrypted on Derek's laptop, backed up to 3 separate secure locations. He learned from Derek's mistakes. No confrontations, no direct accusations. Ghost in the machine. April arrived. Spring. Dogwoods blooming. The base came alive with training cycles and deployment preparations. Kieran received new orders. Temporary duty. Pentagon, 2 weeks. Liaison assignment coordinating Special Forces training standards with the Operations Directorate. The assignment came through normal channels. His company commander called him in, said it was recognition of his experience, his capabilities. Kieran accepted. Professional. Grateful. But he knew. Pentagon meant proximity to Garrick. Garrick, who worked in the Operations Directorate, who had an office 3 floors above where Kieran would be working. It wasn't coincidence. Garrick was pulling him closer, positioning him, setting something up. Kieran could refuse the assignment, claim family emergency, medical issue. But that would alert Garrick, would show fear. Better to walk into the trap with eyes open. Better to see what Garrick had planned. He packed 4 DC, 2 weeks of uniforms. The laptop stayed hidden in Durham. The files backed up and encrypted. If something happened, if this was the move Garrick had been planning, the evidence would survive. The bus to DC left at 0600. Kieran was on it. The Pentagon was bigger than photographs suggested. 6.5 million square feet, 17.5 miles of corridors, 23,000 employees. Kieran checked in at the visitor center. Security clearance verified. Temporary badge issued. Escorted to the Operations Directorate. His liaison office was a desk in a shared workspace. 4 other captains, all temporary assignments, all looking slightly overwhelmed. The work was mundane. Reviewing training manuals or briefing manuals, updating standard operating procedures, coordinating feedback from field units. Bureaucracy, the machinery of military administration. Kieran did it competently, professionally, while watching. Garrick's office was on the 4th floor. Room 4C465. Kieran had checked the directory. He never went there. Never approached. Just noted the schedule. Garrick arrived at 0730, left at 1700, lunch at the officers' mess at 1200, meetings scattered throughout the day. Predictable, routine, the habits of a senior officer confident in his position. On day 4, Kieran stayed late. 1900. Most of the office is empty. Cleaning crews making rounds. He walked past 4C465. Door closed. Lights off. He didn't stop. Didn't pause. Just walked past on his way to the stairwell. But he looked. Quick glance through the door's window. Standard office. Desk. Computer. Filing cabinets. Photographs on the wall. Garrick with various generals. With politicians. With presidents. 30 years of service documented in frames. Kieran kept walking. Day 7. A meeting. All liaison officers. Conference room 3, A220. Garrick ran the meeting, discussing integration of special operations with conventional forces. Lessons from Desert Storm. Future planning. He was good, articulate, knowledgeable. The kind of officer who'd spent decades mastering the political and operational aspects of command. Kieran sat in the back, took notes, said nothing. Garrick's eyes found him twice. Brief glances, recognition without acknowledgement. The meeting ended. Officers filed out. Kieran packed his notebook. Captain Ashford. Garrick's voice. Command tone wrapped in courtesy. Kieran turned. Sir? A moment. The room emptied, just the 2 of them. Garrick by the head of the table. Kieran near the door. I knew your father, Garrick said. Major William Ashford. Good officer. What happened in Panama was tragic. Kieran kept his face neutral. Yes, sir. And your brother, Lieutenant Derrick. I was sorry to hear about his accident. Promising young officer. Thank you, sir. Garrick nodded, studying Kieran, reading him, looking for tells. You've done well for yourself, Bronze Star from the Gulf. Excellent performance reviews. Your father would be proud. I hope so, sir. I heard you're doing research. Into Panama, into your father's case. Garrick's tone didn't change. Casual, conversational. Looking for closure, perhaps. Kieran's pulse didn't change. Training held. I've read the after-action reports, sir, trying to understand what happened. Sometimes understanding brings peace. Sometimes it brings pain. Garrick moved toward the door, stopped beside Kieran, close enough to speak quietly. Your father made difficult decisions under combat stress, Not every decision was correct, but he was a soldier doing his job. That's how I remember him. I suggest you do the same. He placed a hand on Kieran's shoulder. Brief, the gesture of a mentor. Enjoy your time in DC, Captain. You have a bright future. Don't let the past cloud it. Garrick left, footsteps fading down the corridor. Kieran stood alone in the conference room, hand on the chair back to keep it steady. That was the warning, polite, professional, unmistakable. Stop looking, let it go, or there would be consequences. Kieran took 3 controlled breaths, the kind that centered heart rate, cleared thinking. Then he smiled, small, cold, because Garrick had just confirmed everything. The guilt, the fear, the need to warn Kieran off. Innocent men didn't issue warnings. They welcomed investigations. Truth feared nothing. Garrick feared plenty. And fear meant weakness, a crack in the armor. Kieran would find it, widen it, and bring the whole structure down. Day 12, Friday, end of week, end of assignment. Kieran finished his paperwork, submitted his reports, prepared to return to Fort Bragg Monday morning. 2,100 hours, working late, finishing final details. The office was empty, just cleaning crews and a few workaholics. Kieran saved his work, logged off the computer, packed his shoulder bag. His temporary badge was on the desk. He'd turn it in at security on his way out. He reached for it. It wasn't there. Kieran checked his pockets. The desk drawers, the floor, gone. He retraced his steps. Bathroom, break room, conference room. Nothing. Lost badges meant security alerts, investigations, deactivation of access codes, standard procedure. Kieran reported it to the security desk, filled out the form, got a temporary replacement to exit the building. They assured him it would be deactivated immediately. No security risk. He left the Pentagon at 2200, took the metro back to his temporary quarters at Fort Myer. Slept poorly, something itched at the back of his brain. Warning sense developed over years of operations. The badge. He'd had it at 1800, used it to access the secure printer. 1830, still clipped to his pocket when he used the bathroom. 1900, gone. 30-minute window. 30 minutes when someone could have taken it. Kieran lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, watching shadows from passing headlights. The trap wasn't just proximity, wasn't just the warning. The trap was already set, already sprung. He just didn't know what it was yet. Saturday, travel day. Kieran caught the 0900 bus to Fort Bragg, 6-hour ride. He slept most of it, got back to base at 1500, checked in with the company. Weekend duty officer logged his return. Went to his quarters, bachelor officer housing, small apartment, 1 bedroom, kitchenette. Everything looked normal, undisturbed. Kieran dropped his bag, checked his hiding spots. The places he kept sensitive items, flash drives, backup documents, personal effects, all there untouched. He exhaled. Maybe he was paranoid. Maybe the badge was just lost. Fell out of his pocket, kicked under furniture. He unpacked, did laundry, grabbed dinner at the chow hall. Routine. Sunday, day off. He drove to Durham, checked on the house, the basement, the hidden laptop. Everything secure. Derek's files still encrypted. Evidence preserved. Kieran allowed himself to relax slightly. A weekend. No incidents, no problems. Monday morning, 0630 PT formation. Company First Sergeant approached as they finished the run. Captain Ashford, Commander wants to see you now. Kieran's warning sense spiked. What's this about First Sergeant? Didn't say sir, but CID is with him. CID Criminal Investigation Command. Kieran's face stayed calm. Understood. He followed the First Sergeant to the headquarters building. 2nd floor, company commander's office. Captain Monroe sat behind his desk. 42 years old, prior enlisted, solid officer. 2 men in civilian clothes stood beside him. Badges on belts, CID, special agents. Captain Ashford, Monroe said. His voice was tight, uncomfortable. These agents need to ask you some questions. The taller agent, African-American, early 40s, stepped forward. Captain Ashford, I'm Special Agent Williams. This is Special Agent Chen. We need you to come with us. What's this regarding? We'll discuss it at our office. You're not under arrest, but we need your cooperation. Not under arrest meant voluntary, meant he could refuse. Kieran calculated. Refusing would look guilty, would escalate whatever this was. Better to see what they had, what Garrick had manufactured. Of course, lead the way. They drove him to the CID building. Small interview room, table, chairs, mirror on the wall. Williams sat across from him. Chen stood by the door. Williams opened a folder, placed a photograph on the table. Classified document, top secret designation. Intelligence summary from Central Command. Recognize this, Williams asked. It's a classified document. Specifically, CENTCOM Intelligence Summary. Dated. Kieran checked the header. March 1991, Gulf War Operations. Have you seen this document before? Similar documents. I had secret clearance during the deployment, saw briefing materials. This specific document, I don't recall specifically. We received hundreds of intelligence summaries. Williams placed another photograph, another document. How about this one? Technical manual, communications equipment, also classified. I've seen technical manuals, don't recall this specific one. Williams kept placing photographs, 6 more documents, all classified, all from different sources. Captain Ashford, these documents were found in your quarters yesterday during a routine security inspection. Kieran's stomach dropped, but his face didn't change. That's impossible. Those documents aren't in my quarters. The inspection was thorough. They were hidden in a false bottom of your desk drawer. I don't have a false bottom in my desk. Williams placed another photograph, Kieran's desk, drawer removed, showing a cavity beneath. Documents inside, Chen. This is your desk. It looks like my desk. Is it your desk? I'd need to verify the serial number. Williams sighed, patient, professional. Captain, we have the documents. We have photographs of them in your quarters. We have your fingerprints on 3 of them. My fingerprints, confirmed by the lab, your right index and thumb, clear prints. Kieran's mind raced. The missing badge, Pentagon access. Someone had lifted his prints, planted them on documents, then planted the documents in his quarters. Professional, thorough, exactly what Garrick would do. I didn't take those documents, Kieran said. I didn't put them in my quarters. Someone planted them. That's a serious accusation. Who would do that? Kieran almost said the name, almost pointed at Garrick, but stopped. No proof, just accusations. The word of an accused man against a decorated colonel. They'd bury him faster. I don't know, Kieran said instead, but I didn't take those files. Williams nodded, wrote something in his notes. We also have testimony from Staff Sergeant Caldwell. He works in the Pentagon archives. Says he saw you accessing restricted files during your TDY assignment. Says you appeared to be copying documents. Caldwell, Kieran searched his memory. Young NCO archive section. They'd crossed paths twice. Or Garrick had paid him to say whatever was needed. I accessed files as part of my liaison duties. Nothing restricted, nothing improper. Caldwell says otherwise. Then Caldwell is lying, or mistaken. Williams closed the folder, leaned back. Captain Ashford, you're a decorated officer, Bronze Star. Excellent record. This doesn't fit your profile. A pause. The good cop set up. But the evidence is clear. The documents were in your possession. Your prints are on them. We have a witness placing you at the scene, and you have no explanation except conspiracy theory. Williams stood. You're suspended from duty pending investigation. You'll surrender your security clearance immediately. You're restricted to base. Court-martial proceedings will begin within 30 days. Kieran stood slowly. I didn't do this. That's for the court to decide. They processed him out, took his clearance badge, his CAC card, everything that granted access, drove him back to his quarters, told him to stay available, left him alone in the apartment that had been searched, violated, used as a stage for Garrick's frame. Kieran sat on his bed, breathing controlled. This was it. The trap. Perfectly executed. Impossible to fight through official channels. Garrick had positioned him, stolen his identity, manufactured evidence, bought testimony, and now, court-martial, conviction, prison, where accidents happened all the time, where Derek's older brother would finally join him. Kieran looked at his hands. Years of service, years of honorable work, years of following the rules. The rules had failed Derek, had failed their father, would fail him. Time for different rules, time to fight the way Garrick fought, from the shadows, with patience, with precision, and without mercy. 1 week later, the court-martial began. Fort Leavenworth rose from the Kansas plains like a monument to military justice. The United States Disciplinary Barracks, Castle, DB. Whatever name soldiers used, the meaning stayed the same. End of the line. Kieran watched it approach through the transport van's reinforced windows. Red brick walls, guard towers, razor wire catching afternoon sun like teeth. The van stopped at the main gate. Guards checked paperwork, verified identities, inspected the vehicle with mirrors and dogs, standard procedure. Nothing got in or out without documentation. The gate opened. They drove through. Processing took 4 hours. Strip search, medical examination, psychological evaluation. Inventory of personal effects, assignment of prisoner number 87624. That was Kieran now, not captain, not his name. 6 digits, they issued him prison uniform. Khaki, no rank, no insignia, just fabric and a number stenciled on the back. Led him through corridors, past cells, past common areas where other inmates watched. Measuring, evaluating. Predator instincts honed by confinement. His cell was 8 by 10, steel bunk bolted to the wall, stainless toilet, small desk, 1 window. 8 inches wide, reinforced glass. The door closed, lock engaged, electronic, remote controlled. Kieran stood in the center of the cell, turning slowly, taking inventory. This was home. For 5 years, unless Garrick's plan worked and he didn't survive that long. He sat on the bunk, metal frame cold through the thin mattress, concrete walls painted institutional beige, fluorescent light humming overhead. The smart move was despair. Give up. Accept defeat. Kieran had never been smart that way. He'd been in worse places. Afghan mountains with Taliban hunting him. Iraqi towns where every window could hide a sniper. Jungle operations where the environment killed as efficiently as enemy fire. Those places taught lessons. Adapt. Observe. Survive. Wait for opportunity. This was just another hostile environment. Different walls. Same principles. First night. No sleep. Learning the sounds. Doors opening. Guards walking in rounds. Inmates calling to each other. The rhythm of incarceration. Second day. Breakfast at 0600. Cafeteria. 200 inmates. Kieran sat alone. Ate quickly. Watched. The hierarchies were obvious. Gang affiliations. Racial divisions. Power structures built on violence and intimidation. Kieran fit nowhere. Didn't want to. Alone was safer. Third day. Yard time, 2 hours. Outdoor recreation area. Weight pile. Basketball court. Groups clustered by affiliation. Kieran found empty space. Started doing pull-ups, maintaining fitness, showing capability without aggression. They came on day 4, 2 inmates, both over 200 pounds, both with prison tattoos marking gang affiliation. They approached while Kieran was doing dips on the parallel bars. Yo, military boy. Kieran finished his rep, stepped down, faced them. You Ashford, the larger one asked, shaved head, scar across his left eyebrow. That's me. Heard you a captain. Officers live good. Got money saved up. Kieran understood. Extortion, standard prison economics. I got nothing. Everybody got something. The man stepped closer, invading space, showing dominance. You gonna contribute to the community. Protection tax. Keep you safe. Not interested. The man's eyes narrowed. Wrong answer. He swung, telegraphed. Wide right hook meant to intimidate more than damage. Kieran stepped inside. Caught the wrist, used momentum. Judo throw. Clean, efficient. The man hit concrete. Hard. Air left his lungs in a rush. The second inmate moved. Kieran was faster. Elbow strike. Solar plexus. The inmate doubled over. 3 seconds. Both on the ground. Kieran stepping back, hands down. Non-aggressive posture, but ready. The yard went quiet. 200 inmates watching, seeing what happened next. Guards moved in, whistles blowing, ordering everyone down. Kieran complied. Face down, hands behind back, standard procedure. They cuffed all 3. Led them to administrative segregation. Separate cells, investigation. The guard interviewing Kieran was older. 30 years on the job, written in his eyes. What happened? They initiated contact. I defended myself. 2 men. Yes. You put both down in under 5 seconds. Yes. The guard studied him. Special Forces bond. Was. They know that. Didn't ask. The guard made notes. You've been here 4 days, already fighting. That's not a good start. Didn't start it. Just finished it. Prison doesn't work that way. You fight your part of the problem. Doesn't matter who started it. Kieran said nothing. Let the silence work. The guard sighed. You got 23 hours of lockdown. 3 days. Think about your choices. They put him in solitary. Smaller cell. No window. Light controlled externally. 23 hours alone. 1 hour exercise in a cage. Kieran used the time. Mental exercises. Reviewing everything he knew. Planning next moves. Derek's encrypted files were still in Durham. Safe. Hidden. But useless if Kieran died here. He needed to get information out. Needed someone on the outside to continue the investigation. Isabel Ravencroft, the paralegal, Derek's friend. She'd visited before the trial, said she'd help. But communication was monitored. Letters read, phone calls recorded, visits supervised. Anything he said would reach Garrick within hours. He needed a different approach. Subtle, indirect. Third day of lockdown. They returned him to general population. The 2 inmates who'd attacked him were gone. Transferred. Standard procedure after fights. Message received. Start trouble, get moved. Lose whatever status you'd built. Kieran settled into routine. Breakfast, work assignment in the library, lunch, yard, dinner, count, lights out. The library was better than most assignments. Quiet, access to books, computers for legal research. The librarian was a civilian. Ms. Patterson, 60 years old, former teacher. She treated inmates with dignity. Rare commodity. You read a lot, she observed after a week. Kieran had worked through 3 books, military history, analysis of failed operations. Helps pass time. What are you looking for? Understanding, patterns, how things go wrong. She nodded, and how to make them go right. Something like that. She returned to her desk, but the question lingered. Kieran had access to legal research computers. Terminals for inmates preparing appeals. Pro-se litigation. The tools of desperate men. He couldn't access Derek's files, couldn't send emails, everything monitored, but he could research public records, newspaper archives, obituaries. He started documenting the soldiers Derek had identified, plus others he'd been researching. Sergeant Marcus Brennan, vehicle accident, 1985, survived by wife and daughter. Lieutenant James Holloway, friendly fire, 1987, survived by parents. Corporal Vincent Hayes, training fall, 1988, survived by fiancé. Each name, each death, each family left behind. Kieran wrote it down. Careful notes, hidden in legal research documents, camouflaged as appeal preparation, building the case even from inside. Week 3, visitor. Kieran was surprised. No family left. Few friends who'd risk association with a convicted felon. The guard led him to the visiting room, divided by plexiglass, phones for communication. Isabel Ravencroft sat on the other side. She looked different. Civilian clothes, no uniform, hair down instead of regulation bun. Kieran picked up the phone. She did the same. They discharged me, she said. No greeting, straight to business. Processing out. Happens next week. What happened? Helping you happened. They found out about the Durham trip, about Derek's laptop, called it unauthorized investigation. Conduct unbecoming. I'm sorry. Don't be. Best thing they could have done. She leaned closer to the glass. Because now I'm not bound by military regulations. I'm a civilian, and civilians can do things soldiers can't. Kieran glanced at the guard, 20 feet away. Probably not listening, probably. Be careful what you say, he said quietly. I decrypted the files, Isabel continued. Same volume, conversational. Derek was thorough. He had everything, dates, names, payment records, the whole pattern. That information is dangerous. I know, that's why I made copies. 3 sets, 3 locations, different states, safe deposit boxes. If something happens to me, they're set to be delivered to journalists, Congress, Inspector General. Smart, dead man switch, insurance. What do you need from me? Kieran asked. Names, the soldiers from Panama who are still alive. Derek found one. Warrant Officer Beckett, Montana. But there were others on that operation, survivors. Witnesses who know what really happened. Kieran thought back. Panama, 1989, his father's operation. The ambush that killed 6 and destroyed a career. There were 12 on the team, 6 KIA, my father, Beckett, that's 8, 4 others. He couldn't say their names. Not here, not on a recorded line. I'll need you to write them down, Isabel said. Can you do that? Mail is monitored. Not legal mail, attorney-client privilege. They can inspect for contraband, but they can't read it. She pulled out a business card, slid it under the glass partition. I passed the bar exam last year. I'm a licensed attorney. As of today, I'm your counsel. Kieran picked up the card. Isabel Ravencroft, attorney at law, Durham address. You're risking your career, your life. I don't have a career anymore. And Derek was my friend. So are you. She met his eyes through the glass. I'm not letting them win. Write me a letter. Legal correspondence. Include what I need. I'll find these men. I'll document everything. And when the time is right, we'll bury Garrick Thorne. The visit ended. 15 minutes. That's all they allowed. Kieran returned to his cell, sat on the bunk, thinking. Isabel was on the outside, free to investigate, free to move, but vulnerable. Garrick would notice, would act. He needed to give her enough to work with, but not so much that if she was compromised, everything was lost. That night he wrote the letter. Legal correspondence, attorney-client, protected, laid out in careful language. The 4 names, ranks, last known assignments, enough for Isabel to locate them. Chief Warrant Officer Flynn Beckett, retired. Montana, Staff Sergeant Jerome Walsh, discharged. Tennessee, Sergeant First Class Marcus Tennant, still active. Fort Campbell, Specialist Robert Crane, discharged. Oregon, 4 men who'd been there, who'd seen Garrick receive the intelligence warning. Who knew the ambush was preventable? 4 witnesses who could corroborate what Derek had found. If they were still alive, if Garrick hadn't already eliminated them. Kieran sealed the letter, gave it to the guard for legal mail processing. Now he waited, and survived, and built the case from inside a cell. Isabel Ravencroft left the military with a general discharge and a target on her back. The official reason was conduct inconsistent with military standards. Translation: she'd helped a convicted felon, she'd asked too many questions, she'd become a problem. The unofficial reason sat in 3 safe deposit boxes across 2 states. Derek Ashford's encrypted files. Decrypted, documented, explosive. She rented a small apartment in Durham, 1 bedroom, close to the public library, away from military bases, away from Garrick's direct reach. But she knew he was watching. Men like Garrick didn't leave loose ends. Derek had learned that, so had Kieran. She would be next, unless she moved first. The letter from Kieran arrived via legal mail, Fort Leavenworth postmark, attorney-client correspondence. The prison had inspected it for contraband, but couldn't read the contents. 4 names, 4 men who'd survived Panama, 4 potential witnesses. Isabel spread a map across her kitchen table. Montana, Tennessee, Kentucky, Oregon, 4 locations. Thousands of miles, limited resources. She'd saved money, but not much. Military pay wasn't generous. Legal work would come eventually. But right now she had maybe 3 months before the savings ran dry. 3 months to find 4 men, document their testimony, build an unassailable case. The clock started now. First target, Chief Warrant Officer Flynn Beckett, Montana. Derek's notes said Beckett had gone off-grid, scared, paranoid, convinced that talking about Panama meant death. 3 soldiers from that operation had died since 1989. Accidents spread over 3 years. Statistically improbable. Realistically targeted. Beckett knew, and knowing had sent him running. Isabel flew to Billings, rented a car, drove north into the mountains. Derek had tracked Beckett to a small town called Judith Gap, population 300, middle of nowhere. Perfect place to disappear. She started at the post office, small building. 1 clerk, woman in her 50s with weather-beaten skin and suspicious eyes. I'm looking for Flynn Beckett, Isabel said. Friend of the family, trying to reconnect. The clerk studied her. A lot of people looking for Flynn lately. Isabel's stomach tightened. Oh, when? Few months back, man came through, government type, suit and tie in Judith Gap. Stood out. Government type. Garrick's reach. Did Flynn meet with him? Don't know. Don't ask about other folks' business. But her expression said she did know, and it hadn't ended well. Isabel thanked her, drove to the local bar, the only one, where small-town information lived. The bartender was more talkative, especially after Isabel bought a beer and left a $20 tip. Beckett used to come in regular. Quiet guy, kept to himself, lived in a cabin up in the hills. Then about 3 months ago stopped coming. He moved away. Couldn't say, but his truck's still parked at the cabin. Sheriff checked after the postman reported mail piling up. The bartender leaned closer. Found him in the woods, 2 miles from the cabin, dead. Exposure, they said. But Flynn knew these mountains. Served in the Army. Ranger qualified. Man like that doesn't get lost. Isabel's hands tightened. What did the sheriff rule? Accidental death, hypothermia, case closed. He shook his head. But folks around here know. Flynn was scared of something, or someone, and whatever he was running from caught up. 3 months ago, right after Derek died, right after Derek had contacted Beckett for an interview. Garrick had moved fast, eliminated the witness before he could talk. Strike one. Second target, Staff Sergeant Jerome Walsh, Tennessee. Derek's notes had less on Walsh. Discharged 1990, settled near Chattanooga. Working construction. Isabel drove from Montana to Tennessee. 2 days. Motels and highway coffee. She found Walsh's last known address. Small house. Rental. The landlord said Walsh had moved out 8 months ago. Left in a hurry, and the landlord said. Broke the lease. Forfeited deposit. Just gone one day. Did he say where he was going? Nope, but he seemed scared. Real jumpy those last few weeks. Kept asking if anyone had been around, asking about him. Had anyone, not that I saw, but Jerome was a good tenant. Paid on time, quiet. Then suddenly he's packing boxes at midnight and gone by morning. Isabel tried other sources. Construction companies where Walsh had worked. Local VA office. Nothing. Jerome Walsh had disappeared. Either running or already dead. Strike two. Third target, Sergeant First Class Marcus Tennant, Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Still active duty. 101st Airborne. Senior NCO. 20 years of service. Harder to approach. Military bases had security. Tennant would be cautious, and if Garrick was watching, contact could put both of them at risk. Isabel needed subtlety, indirect approach. She researched Tennant's background. Found his wife's name through public records. Sandra Tennant. Worked as a nurse at a civilian hospital near Fort Campbell. Isabel waited in the hospital parking lot. Identified Sandra from a Facebook photo. Followed her to a coffee shop during lunch break. Approached carefully. Friendly. Non-threatening. Mrs. Tennant, I'm sorry to bother you. My name is Isabel Ravencroft. I'm an attorney representing Captain Kieran Ashford. Sandra's expression shifted, recognition and fear. I can't talk to you, she said quietly. My husband said if anyone came asking about Panama, I should call him immediately. Please, just 5 minutes. This is about getting justice for men who died. Men your husband served with. Sandra looked around, nervous. Not here. There's a park, Riverside. Meet me there at 6, come alone. She left without finishing her coffee. Riverside Park, 6 p.m. spring evening, families with children, joggers, normal life. Sandra Tennant sat on a bench overlooking the Cumberland River. Isabel approached slowly, sat at the other end, maintaining distance. Marcus won't talk, Sandra said without preamble. He's terrified. Says that operation in Panama is classified. Says men who talk about it die. 3 men have died. Beckett, Holloway, Hayes, your husband is right to be scared. Then why are you asking him to risk his life? Because Captain Ashford is in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Because the man responsible has killed 11 soldiers to cover it up. Because someone has to stand up. Sandra turned to look at her. Marcus has kids, 2 daughters, 8 and 6. He won't risk leaving them without a father. I understand, but what happens when Garrick decides your husband knows too much, when he's no longer useful? These men aren't safe because they're quiet. They're just delaying the inevitable. Silence. The river flowed past, indifferent to human problems. What do you need? Sandra finally asked. Just the truth. What happened that night? What intelligence they received? What orders came from command? Marcus won't testify, won't go on record. Then just tell me, background, so I know what really happened, so when the time comes we have the full picture. Sandra thought for a long moment, then spoke quietly. They received intelligence 6 hours before the mission. CIA asset, credible source. Said Panamanian Defense Forces had set an ambush at the target building. Specific numbers, specific weapons, specific positions. What did command do? Colonel Thorne received the report. Marcus saw it, saw Thorne read it. Then Thorne said the intelligence was unverified. Said the mission would proceed as planned. Major Ashford questioned it. Said they should adjust the approach. Thorne overruled him. Said Ashford was being too cautious. That aggressive action was needed. Isabel wrote quickly, getting every detail. What happened on the ground? Exactly what the intelligence predicted. Ambush, heavy fire, 6 men died in the first 90 seconds. The rest fought their way out. But it was slaughter, and it was preventable. Did the men know? Did they talk about it afterward? Quietly, among themselves, but then the official report came out. blamed Major Ashford for tactical error, for being too aggressive, complete opposite of the truth. The men knew it was wrong, but who would believe them against a colonel? Some spoke up. A few, they were transferred, separated, careers derailed. The message was clear. Keep quiet or pay the price. Sandra's voice hardened, and then they started dying. Brennan, Holloway, Hayes. Marcus said each death was a message. Stay silent or join them. Is he willing to testify if we can guarantee protection? I don't think any protection is guaranteed, not against a man like Thorne. She stood. That's all I can give you. Don't contact us again. For their sake. Please. She walked away, back to her car, back to a life lived in fear. Isabel sat on the bench, watching the river, thinking she had testimony. Secondhand, not admissible in court, but true. The pattern was clear. Garrick had sent men into a known ambush, had blamed a good officer, had eliminated anyone who questioned the narrative. But she still needed proof, direct evidence, something that couldn't be dismissed or buried. Fourth target specialist Robert Crane. Oregon. Derek's notes were thinnest here. Crane had discharged immediately after Panama, moved west, dropped off the grid. Isabel flew to Portland, rented a car, started the search. DMV records showed an address, rural, outside Eugene. She drove through evergreen forests and rain. The house was small, well-maintained. Truck in the driveway, lights on inside. Isabel knocked, waited. The man who answered was 43, graying hair, weathered face, eyes that had seen too much. Robert Crane, he studied her. Who's asking? My name is Isabel Ravencroft. I'm investigating the Panama operation in 1989, the one where 6 men died. Crane's expression didn't change, but his hand tightened on the doorframe. I don't talk about that. I know men have died for talking, but you don't know anything. His voice was quiet, controlled. You didn't carry those bodies out. You didn't watch good men die because some colonel wanted a promotion. You didn't spend 20 years looking over your shoulder. You're right, I don't know, but Captain Kieran Ashford is in prison, framed by the same colonel who sent your team into that ambush, and I'm trying to prove the truth. The truth, Crane laughed, bitter. The truth is classified, buried, protected by people with stars on their shoulders. Your captain is just the latest casualty. Will you let him be? Will you let Garrick Thorne keep killing soldiers and getting away with it? Crane was quiet for a long moment. Then come inside, just for a minute. The house was sparse, functional. A soldier's discipline in civilian space. Crane didn't offer her a seat, stood in the living room, arms crossed. What do you want from me? Your account of what happened, what intelligence you received, what orders came down. And then what I testify, put my name on a statement, end up like Beckett. Beckett is dead. Found in the woods 3 months ago. Exposure, they said. But Flynn was Ranger qualified, survival expert. He didn't die of exposure. He died because he knew too much. Isabel felt the weight settle. Another confirmation, another death. I won't ask you to testify publicly, not yet, but I need to document the truth. So when the time comes, we have the full story. Crane walked to the window, looked out at the rain. We got the warning at 1400, 6 hours before insertion. Clear intelligence, enemy positions, strength, weapons, everything. His voice was distant, remembering. Major Ashford wanted to adjust, change the approach, hit from a different angle. Colonel Thorne said no, said the intelligence was unreliable, said we proceed as planned. Did anyone question that? Ashford did, said we were walking into a kill zone. Thorne told him he was being too cautious, that special operations meant taking risks. That hesitation got men killed. Crane turned back to Isabel. The irony is Thorne was right. Hesitation did get men killed. His hesitation to change a bad plan. What happened on the ground? We inserted at 2000, moved to the target, and walked into exactly what the intelligence predicted. Heavy fire, coordinated positions. They were waiting for us. His jaw tightened. Brennan died first, headshot, then cross. Holloway, Hayes, Simmons, Rodriguez. 6 men in 90 seconds. The rest of us fought through, but we left brothers behind. The official report blamed Ashford. The official report was a lie. Thorne wrote it, blamed Ashford's aggressive tactics, said he pushed forward despite warnings. Complete fabrication. Ashford was the one trying to slow down, to adjust. Thorne ordered us forward. Did you file a statement? I tried. My chain of command shut it down. Said the investigation was complete. Said questioning a criminal's findings was insubordination. I pushed harder. Got transferred, then discharged. Message received. Crane sat on the edge of a chair, tired. After I got out, I heard about the others. Brennan, training accident. Holloway, friendly fire. Hayes, equipment failure. All within 3 years. All men who were in Panama. All men who knew the truth. You went into hiding. I changed my name. Moved every 2 years. Kept my head down. Stayed alive. He looked at her. And now you show up, asking me to paint a target on my back. I'm asking you to help me stop a murderer by becoming his next victim. Isabel had no answer for that, because he was right. Coming forward meant risk, meant Garrick would know, would act. I have insurance, she said finally. Dead man's switch. Files set to release if anything happens to me. Evidence, documentation. Enough to bury Thorne even if I'm gone. And if he kills you before you can use it, then someone else picks up the file. This doesn't end with me. It doesn't end until he's brought to justice. Crane studied her, seeing something. Determination maybe, or desperation. I'll give you a written statement. Dated, signed, notarized, but I won't testify publicly unless you can guarantee he's already in custody. Already neutralized. I'm not dying for this. That's fair. That's more than I expected. He pulled out paper. Started writing. His account. Every detail. The intelligence received. Thorne's dismissal. Ashford's objections. The ambush. The deaths. The cover-up. 3 pages. Handwritten. Clear. Damning. He signed it. Dated it. They drove to a notary. Made it official. Back at his house, he handed her the document. This is everything I know. Everything I saw. Use it wisely. I will. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just make sure it counts. Make sure those men didn't die for nothing. Isabel left Oregon with the statement, flew back to Durham, added it to the growing file. 4 targets, 1 dead, 1 disappeared, 2 cooperative. Not enough for a trial, not yet, but enough to build the picture, enough to document the truth. She sat in her apartment, spread the evidence across the table. Derek's encrypted files, financial records, payment trails, Crane's statement, Sandra Tennant's secondhand testimony, the pattern of deaths, 11 soldiers, 15 years. It was there, the conspiracy, the murders, the cover-up, but it wasn't enough, not to overcome Garrick's connections, his protection, his network. She needed more. Something undeniable, something that would force the system to act. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. Hello, what's Ms. Ravencroft? This is Captain Stellan Thorne. Isabel's blood froze. Garrick's nephew. The man Derek had trusted. The man who'd betrayed them. What do you want? To meet, to talk. I know you're investigating my uncle. I know what you're building. Then you know I have nothing to say to you. I know what he did. I know he killed Derek Ashford. I know he framed Kieran. And I know I helped him do it. Silence. Why would you tell me this? Isabel asked. Because I found something in my uncle's office. Something that proves everything. And I think it's time someone stopped him. This could be a trap. It could be, but it's not. Meet me. Pentagon. Tomorrow. 1400. Bring nothing. Tell no one. If I'm setting you up, you lose nothing. If I'm not, you get everything you need. The line went dead. Isabel sat holding the phone, heart racing. Trap or opportunity, betrayal or redemption. Derek had trusted Stellan, and Derek had died. But Kieran was in prison. Beckett was dead. Time was running out. Sometimes the only move was forward, even into danger. She booked a flight to D.C. tomorrow, 1400, and prayed she wasn't walking into the same trap that had killed Derek Ashford. Pentagon City, 1300 hours. 1 hour before the meeting, Isabel Ravencroft sat in a coffee shop across from the metro station, 3rd cup going cold in front of her. Watching the entrance. She'd arrived early. Standard practice. Survey the terrain, identify exits, look for surveillance. The lunch crowd thinned. Business professionals returning to offices. Tourists consulting maps. Normal activity. Nothing obvious. But Garrick Thorne didn't use obvious. She checked her phone. 13:15, 45 minutes. The evidence she'd gathered sat in 3 safe deposit boxes. Durham, Richmond, Charlotte. Dead man's switch instructions with 3 separate attorneys. If she didn't check in every 72 hours, the files would be delivered. Journalists, Congress, Inspector General, insurance. The kind Derek hadn't had. Her phone buzzed. Text message. Unknown number. Change of location. Arlington Cemetery. Tomb of unknown soldier. 1400. Come alone. Delete this message. Isabel's stomach tightened. Location change. Classic misdirection. Could mean operational security. Could mean ambush. She deleted the message. Paid cash for the coffee. Left through the side exit. Arlington Cemetery. 20 minutes by metro. Public location. Tourists, guards, witnesses. Safer than a Pentagon office where Garrett controlled access. Or more exposed. Harder to defend. Easier to stage an accident. She caught the blue line. Changed at Pentagon Station. Transferred to the cemetery shuttle. 1350. 10 minutes early. The tomb of the unknown soldier stood on a hill overlooking the cemetery. White marble. Honor guard marching precise steps. Tourists clustered at the rope line, taking photos, watching the changing of the guard. Isabel positioned herself at the edge. Back to a tree, clear sightlines, watching faces. 1400. A man approached from the east path. 35. Military haircut. Business casual clothes. No uniform. Captain Stellan Thorne. Garrick's nephew. The man who'd betrayed Derek. He stopped 10 feet away. Hands visible. Empty. Ms. Ravencroft, thank you for coming. You have 5 minutes, then I'm gone. Stellan glanced around, checking for observers, satisfied they were functionally alone in the crowd. I helped my uncle frame Kieran Ashford. I didn't know that's what I was doing. He told me Kieran was investigating him unfairly, that Kieran was obsessed with conspiracy theories about Panama, that Kieran needed help, psychological evaluation, support. His voice was quiet, controlled, ashamed. My uncle asked me to talk to Kieran, to find out what he'd discovered, to gain his trust. So I did, and I reported everything back, every conversation, every question Kieran asked, every suspicion he raised. You were the source, Isabel said, the inside man. I was an idiot. I believed my uncle was a good officer, a decorated veteran, someone who'd served with honor for 30 years. Why would I question him? Derek questioned him. Derek died. Stellan flinched. Derek came to me 3 weeks before he died, said he'd found evidence my uncle had sent men into an ambush deliberately, that he'd covered it up, that he'd killed soldiers who knew the truth. What did you do? I told my uncle, told him Derek was making wild accusations, told him Derek needed to be stopped before he embarrassed himself and damaged careers. Stellan's jaw tightened. 2 weeks later, Derek drowned in a training accident. Ruled accidental. Case closed. And you didn't connect the dots. I didn't want to. Easier to believe it was coincidence. Tragic but unrelated. Easier than accepting my uncle was a murderer, that I'd helped him. A tour group passed, Japanese tourists following a guide, oblivious to the conversation. Then Kieran was arrested, Stellan continued. Evidence too perfect. Testimony too convenient. And I knew my uncle had done it again, had eliminated another threat, used me to set it up. Why tell me now? Why not 6 months ago? Because I'm a coward. Because admitting the truth means admitting I helped kill Derek, means destroying my career, my family name, everything. He reached into his jacket. Isabel tensed, hand moving toward her bag. Stellan pulled out a manila envelope, slowly, no threat. But some things matter more than career, more than family name, more than self-preservation. He handed her the envelope. 3 weeks ago, I accessed my uncle's office, his private files, the ones he keeps off-network. I found payment records, communications, evidence. Isabel took the envelope, didn't open it. Not here. What's inside? Proof. Wire transfers from a DoD slush fund to a shell company called Northwood Solutions. That company made payments to 3 individuals. Boyd Merrick, Vance Drexler, Luther Kane, all former military, all specialists in making deaths look accidental. The contractors, the executioners, each payment corresponds to a death. Brennan, Holloway, Hayes, all the way through Derek, 11 payments, 11 deaths. Isabel's hands tightened on the envelope. This proves Garrick ordered the killings. It proves the payments. The communications are more damning. Encrypted messages between my uncle and Merrick. Specific instructions, timelines, methods. He documented everything, kept records. I think he believed he was untouchable, that no one would ever see these files. Why would he keep evidence? Leverage maybe, insurance against his superiors, or arrogance. 30 years of getting away with murder makes you confident. The honor guard completed their routine. Tourists applauded. The ceremony of remembrance for unknown soldiers. Men who died serving their country, like the 11 Garrick had killed. I made copies, Stellan said. Encrypted, backed up. But the originals are in his office. Filing cabinet, combination lock. I can get you in. When? Tonight, my uncle is traveling. Baltimore, meeting with defense contractors. Won't be back until tomorrow. His office will be empty. We have a 6-hour window. Isabel studied him, looking for deception, for the trap. Why should I trust you? You betrayed Derek. You helped frame Kieran. You shouldn't trust me. I don't trust myself. Stellan met her eyes. But Derek was my friend. And what my uncle did to him, to Kieran, to all of them, it's wrong. And I'm the only one who can get you inside. If this is a setup, then you have your dead man's switch, files release. I go down with my uncle. I'm risking as much as you. Not quite true. Stellan had family, career, future. Isabel had already lost her military career, already burned bridges. But the evidence, the original files, that was worth the risk. 2,200 hours, Stellan said. South entrance, Pentagon. I'll get you through security. 30 minutes inside. That's all we'll have. And if we're caught, then we both go to Leavenworth, right next to Kieran. He walked away, back down the path, disappearing into the flow of visitors. Isabel waited 10 minutes, then left separately. Different route, watching for followers. Back to her hotel. Small room. Chain motel near Reagan National. She'd paid cash, used a fake name, basic operational security. She opened the envelope. Inside, printouts, bank statements, wire transfer records, dates and amounts. Northwood Solutions receiving funds, Northwood Solutions making payments, and communications. Encrypted messages, decoded by Stellan, package delivered, Brennan, vehicle accident, clean, Merrick to Thorne, May 1985, target acquired, Holloway, training exercise, timeline, Thorne to Drexler. March 1987, confirmed. Hayes, rappel equipment failure, no witnesses. Kane to Thorne, August 1988, on and on, 11 deaths, 11 confirmations, a paper trail of murder, and the final message. October 1991, D. Ashford becoming problem. Has evidence, a range accident, make it look training related. Fort Benning resources available. Thorne to Merrick, Derek's death order in writing. Undeniable. Isabel photographed every page. Uploaded encrypted copies to 3 separate cloud servers, different passwords, different security protocols. Then she prepared for tonight. Pentagon infiltration, theft of classified materials, federal crimes, but necessary crimes, the kind that brought down murderers. She dressed in dark clothes, no identification. Burner phone only. If caught, she'd be Jane Doe until they fingerprinted her, 2130. She took a cab to Pentagon City. Walked the last half mile. Approaching from the south, Stellan waited in the parking garage. Level 3, standing beside a black sedan. Ready, he asked. No, but let's go anyway. They entered through the south entrance, late-night security, reduced staff. Stellan's military ID got them through the first checkpoint. Working late? The guard asked. Always. Stellan smiled, relaxed, natural. Pentagon never sleeps. They took the elevator to the 4th floor. Bushra form, corridors empty, fluorescent lights humming. The building felt different at night, larger, more hostile. Room 4C-465, Garrick's office. Stellan produced a key. I borrowed a spare. He won't notice until tomorrow. The office was dark. Stellan didn't turn on the main lights, used a small flashlight instead. Filing cabinet in the corner. 4 drawers, combination lock. You know the combination, Isabel whispered. Watched him open it twice, memorized the sequence. He spun the dial. Right, left, right, click. The drawer opened. Inside. Files organized, labeled. A bureaucrat's approach to murder. Operation Northwood. The master file. Stellan pulled it out. Thick folder. Years of documentation. Isabel photographed every page. Phone camera, high resolution. Hands steady despite adrenaline. Payment authorizations. Mission summaries. After-action reports from the contractors. Everything. And buried in the middle, the original intelligence report from Panama. December 1989. CIA asset codenamed Cardinal. Warning of PDF ambush at target building. Specific details. Troop strength, weapon positions, timing. Report received by Colonel Garrick Thorne. 1400 hours. 6 hours before mission launch. In Thorne's handwritten note in the margin, Ashford team proceeds as planned. If casualties occur, useful for career adjustment. Career adjustment. 6 men dead. For career adjustment. Isabel's hands shook. She steadied them. Kept photographing. The last document in the file, a list. Typed, updated, potential security risks, ongoing monitoring 1, Sergeant Marcus Brennan, eliminated 1985-2, Lieutenant James Holloway, eliminated 1987-3, CW2, Flynn Beckett, eliminated 1991, 4th Lieutenant Derek Ashford, eliminated 1991 5th, Captain Kieran Ashford, neutralized incarcerated, 6th Staff Sergeant Marcus Tennant, under observation 7th, SSG Jerome Walsh, location unknown 8, Specialist Robert Crane, location unknown 8 names, 5 eliminated, 1 neutralized, 2 still hunting. And at the bottom, handwritten addition, recent, 9, Isabel Ravencroft, attorney, investigating, recommend elimination. Isabel stared at her own name, death warrant in casual handwriting. We need to go, Stellan said. Hey, Isabel photographed the list, the threat, the evidence that Garrick was hunting her. Stellan returned the file, closed the drawer, spun the combination lock. They were halfway to the door when the lights came on. Colonel Garrick Thorne stood in the doorway. Silver hair, cold eyes, and a gun in his right hand. Hello, nephew. Ms. Ravencroft. I've been expecting you. Isabel's training kicked in. Assess, calculate, survive. Garrick held a Sig Sauer P226, military issue. 15 rounds, suppressor, attached. Professional setup. He wasn't here to arrest them. He was here to eliminate problems. How did you know? Stellan asked. Voice steady, buying time. I've known you were compromised for 3 weeks. Since you accessed my personal files the first time. Garrick stepped inside, closed the door with his foot. Did you really think I wouldn't have alerts on that cabinet cameras in this office? He gestured to the smoke detector. Small red light blinking. I've watched you, followed your investigation, monitored your communications with Ms. Ravencroft. Every move, every plan. He smiled, cold. You're predictable, Stellan, always were. Too much conscience, not enough pragmatism. You killed Derek, Stellan said. You killed 11 soldiers, your own men. I eliminated security risks, threats to operational success, to national interests. Garrick's tone didn't change, discussing casualties like statistics. Derek was poking into classified operations, threatening to expose strategic initiatives. He was a liability. He was my friend. He was a problem, like his brother, like their father before them. The Ashfords never understood. Sometimes soldiers die, sometimes for the mission, sometimes for other reasons. The outcome is the same. Isabel watched, looking for openings. Garrick was 15 feet away, too far to rush. The gun barrel never wavered, trained on center mass. What about Panama? She asked, keeping him talking. 6 men died because you sent them into a known ambush. For what a promotion? For operational necessity, Major Ashford was too cautious, too methodical. Special operations needed aggressive leadership, needed people willing to take calculated risks. Calculated? Isabel's voice hardened. You knew it was an ambush. The intelligence was clear. The intelligence was uncertain. Assets are wrong 50% of the time. I made a command decision. The mission proceeded. Some casualties occurred. That's warfare. You blamed Ashford for your decision. I blamed Ashford for his execution. He should have adapted faster, responded better. That he didn't was his failure, not mine. The rationalization of a sociopath, perfect logic, zero humanity. And the cover-up, Stellan asked. The murders afterward. Damage control. Brennan was talking to journalists. Holloway was preparing a formal complaint. Hayes was gathering evidence for an IG investigation. Each one threatened to derail critical operations, undermine military effectiveness, create political scandals. Garrick moved closer. 10 feet now, still too far. I protected the mission, protected the institution. That's what leaders do. Make hard choices, accept difficult responsibilities. You mean you protected yourself, Isabel said. your career, your reputation. Those are synonymous with protecting the institution. I am a valued asset, 3 decades of experience, strategic expertise. Removing me would hurt national security more than a few soldiers with loose mouths. 11 soldiers. A statistically acceptable number. Infantry units lose more in training accidents every year. My operations have saved hundreds, thousands. The math is favorable. He raised the gun slightly. Decision made. Unfortunately, you two have become unacceptable risks. Breaking into my office, stealing classified materials. That's treason, federal crime. You forced my hand. People know we're here, Stellan said quickly. We told others. If we disappear, no one knows. I've monitored your communications. You came alone, told no one. Very operational of you. Very foolish. Isabel's mind raced. The phone in her pocket, the photographs, the evidence. If she died, it died with her. The dead man's switch only triggered if she missed check-ins, not if she was killed suddenly. She needed time, needed to transmit the photos, needed to, I'll make it quick, Garrick said. Professional courtesy, 2 rounds each. Stage it as murder-suicide. Troubled attorney, obsessed with conspiracy theories. Killed my nephew when he confronted her. Then herself. Tragic. But explainable. He aimed at Stellan first. Nephew, any last words? Uncle, don't do this. There's still a way out. We can. The office door exploded inward. Not opened. Exploded. Boot strike. Military precision. 3 men poured through. Combat gear. Body armor. Weapons raised. Federal agents dropped the weapon. FBI. Tactical unit. Moving with practiced coordination. Garrick froze. Gun still raised, but not firing. Calculating odds. Seeing none. Drop it now. He lowered the weapon slowly, placed it on the floor, hands up. The lead agent, African-American, 45. Voice hard as concrete. Colonel Garrick Thorne. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder. Multiple counts, on the floor, hands behind your back. They moved fast. Secured Garrick, cuffed him, cleared the room. Isabel stood frozen, heart hammering, not understanding. The lead agent turned to her. Ms. Ravencroft, Agent Morrison, FBI. You're safe. How did you? Anonymous tip, 30 minutes ago, said there would be a confrontation here. Possible hostage situation. We deployed tactical team, got here just in time. Anonymous tip. Isabel looked at Stellan. He shook his head. Not him. Then who? Morrison held up an evidence bag inside. Garrick's phone. We'll need this, and anything you photographed. Evidence for prosecution. You knew we were here. You let us break in. We didn't know specifically, the tip was vague. But when we arrived and saw the situation, Morrison's expression was unreadable. Sometimes timing works in everyone's favor. They led Garrick out. He didn't look at Stellan, didn't look at Isabel, just walked, shoulders straight, still military bearing even in handcuffs. In the corridor, more FBI, processing the scene, documenting evidence, and standing at the end of the hallway, watching, Brigadier General Rowan Ashcroft, 53 years old. William Ashford's former commanding officer, 1-star general, Pentagon assignments. She caught Isabel's eye, nodded once, then walked away. The anonymous tip. The perfect timing. The general who'd believed in William Ashford, who'd watched Garrick for years, waiting for proof. Now she had it, and she'd made sure FBI arrived before Garrick could eliminate witnesses. Morrison turned to Isabel and Stellan. You'll both need to come with us. Give statements. This is going to be a long night. Are we under arrest? Stellan asked. That depends on cooperation. You broke into a Pentagon office, accessed classified materials, federal crimes. But if you're willing to testify, provide evidence. That changes things. We'll cooperate, Isabel said immediately. Fully, whatever you need. Morrison nodded. Then let's go. We have a lot to discuss. They spent 8 hours at FBI headquarters, separate rooms, separate interviews. Agent Morrison and a colleague, recording everything. Isabel provided her phone. The photographs, Derek's encrypted files, the evidence she'd gathered over months. Told them about Beckett's death, Walsh's disappearance, Crane's statement, Tennant's secondhand testimony. Laid out the entire pattern. 11 soldiers, 15 years, 1 killer. Morrison listened, asked questions, documented. At 0400 he stood. We have enough to hold Thorne. Arraignment will be tomorrow. Federal charges, multiple counts, murder for hire, conspiracy, Obstruction of justice. Will it stick? Isabel asked, exhausted. He has connections, powerful friends. He had connections, past tense. When a colonel gets arrested by FBI tactical team in the Pentagon, those friends disappear fast. No one wants association with a murder suspect. What about Kieran Ashford? Morrison consulted his notes. Captain Ashford, Leavenworth, framed by Thorne. We'll be reviewing his case immediately. New evidence, coerced testimony, planted materials. His conviction will be overturned. Relief flooded through her. How long? An emergency motion to federal court? 72 hours, maybe less. We'll have him out by end of week. Isabel leaned back in the chair, eyes burning, body exhausted, but lighter somehow. Derek's investigation, Kieran's imprisonment, the months of fear and uncertainty, finally ending. Morrison opened the door. You're free to go. We'll need you available for grand jury testimony. Probably 2 weeks. Don't leave the D.C. area. I won't. She stepped into the corridor. Stellan was waiting, looking as exhausted as she felt. They're letting me resign, he said quietly. General discharge. Not honorable, but not court-martial. If I testify against my uncle, if I cooperate fully, will you every word, every document, everything I know? He met her eyes. It won't bring Derek back. Won't undo what I helped my uncle do, but it's something. It's justice. That's more than we had yesterday. They walked out together, dawn breaking over D.C. purple sky and cold air. Isabel's phone buzzed, message from an unknown number. Well done. R.A. Rowan Ashcroft, the general who'd orchestrated the FBI timing, who'd been watching, waiting, protecting. Isabel deleted the message. Some secrets stayed secret. What now? Stellan asked. Now I go to Leavenworth. Tell Kieran he's coming home, that his brother's killer is in custody, that it's over. And after I become a real attorney, help soldiers who've been screwed by the system, make sure Derek's death meant something. Stellan nodded. Good, that's good. They parted. Different directions, different futures. Isabel caught a cab to Reagan National, first flight to Kansas City, rental car to Leavenworth. She arrived at the prison at 1400, visiting hours. Requested to see Kieran Ashford. The guard checked the list. He's in general population. You're his attorney. Yes. Wait here, we'll bring him to the visiting room. 20 minutes. Then Kieran appeared, escorted by guards, prison uniform, thinner than she remembered, harder, but alive, intact, survivor. They sat across from each other, plexiglass between them, phones for communication. Kieran picked up. Isabel, what happened? You look exhausted. I have news. Good news. Nan, she smiled. Genuine. First time in months. Garrick Thorne was arrested last night. FBI. Multiple murder charges. He's in federal custody. Kieran's expression didn't change. Training, control. But his eyes shifted. Something releasing. Tell me everything. She did. The investigation, the evidence, Stellan's betrayal and redemption, the Pentagon confrontation, FBI intervention, all of it. Kieran listened, absorbing, processing. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Derek found it, the proof, and you finished it. We finished it. You, me, Stellan, General Ashcroft, even Derek. He started this. The others, Tennant, Crane, Walsh. FBI is providing protection, witness security. They'll testify at trial, no more hiding. Kieran nodded slowly. In my case, emergency motion to vacate conviction, FBI, evidence shows you were framed, planted materials, false testimony, you'll be released within 72 hours. Released. He said it like a foreign word, testing the sound. Free, exonerated, honorably discharged with full back pay. Your father's name cleared. Everything. Kieran leaned back, closed his eyes. 30 seconds of silence. When he opened them, they were wet. He didn't wipe them. Just let it be. Thank you, he said quietly, for not giving up, for finishing what Derek started. Derek was my friend. You're my friend. This is what friends do. The guard tapped the glass. Time up. Kieran stood. 72 hours. Maybe less. I'll be here when they release you. We'll drive back to Durham together. Visit Derek's grave. Tell him it's done. He'd like that. They hung up the phones. Kieran walked back through the door. To his cell. To 3 more days of waiting. But different waiting now. Not forever. Not hopeless. Finite. Counted. Almost over. Isabel left the prison. drove to a motel, slept for 12 hours. And when she woke, she started preparing for what came next. 2 days later, federal courthouse, Washington, D.C., emergency hearing, United States versus Ashford, motion to vacate conviction. Kieran sat at the defense table, first time in civilian clothes since his arrest. Dark suit, white shirt, no tie, Isabel beside him. His attorney now in fact as well as name. The judge, Honorable Patricia Reynolds, 62 years old, former prosecutor, appointed by 3 presidents ago. No-nonsense reputation. She read the FBI affidavit, 30 pages. Every detail of Garrick's frame, the stolen badge, the planted documents, the false testimony, the conspiracy. When she finished, she looked up. Mr. Morrison, the government's position, FBI. Special Agent Morrison stood. Your Honor, the United States moves to vacate Captain Ashford's conviction. New evidence demonstrates the defendant was framed by Colonel Garrick Thorne. Evidence planted. Witness testimony coerced. The conviction cannot stand. Captain Ashford, do you wish to address the court? Kieran stood. Yes, Your Honor. Proceed. I served this country for 8 years, deployed to combat zones, led men in hostile territory, did my job with honor. His voice was steady, not angry, not pleading, just stating facts. When I discovered evidence of murder and conspiracy, I tried to investigate properly, quietly, through appropriate channels. For that, I was framed, dishonored, imprisoned. He paused. I don't want an apology. I don't want compensation. I want my name cleared, my father's name cleared, and I want the men who died to be remembered for what they were. Soldiers, not accidents. Judge Reynolds nodded. Anything else? No, Your Honor. She turned to the prosecution table. Empty. No one there to defend the original conviction. No one willing to stand by tainted evidence. The motion is granted. Captain Ashford's conviction is vacated. All charges dismissed with prejudice. The record will reflect that Captain Ashford was wrongfully convicted through prosecutorial misconduct and fabricated evidence. She banged the gavel once. Captain Ashford, you are free to go. This court apologizes for the injustice you suffered. Though words are inadequate, they are all I can offer. Kieran nodded. Thank you, Your Honor. The hearing ended. 10 minutes. 8 months of hell erased in 10 minutes. But not erased. Not really. Just acknowledged. Outside the courthouse, Isabel stopped on the steps. How does it feel? Kieran looked up at the sky. Gray. Overcast. Winter coming. Strange. Like I should feel something. Relief. Anger. Something. He shook his head. But I just feel tired. That's normal. You've been fighting for months, running on adrenaline. Now it's done. The crash comes. What about you? What do you feel, Isabel thought. Satisfied? Not happy? Derek's still dead. Beckett's still dead. Your father's still dead, but Garrick will answer for it. That's something. It's everything. They walked to the parking garage, Isabel's rental, drove out of D.C., headed south. Durham was 4 hours. They drove in silence mostly. Comfortable silence. The silence of people who'd fought together and survived. Halfway there, Kieran spoke. What did Morrison say about the trial? Grand jury next week. Indictment certain. Trial probably 3 months. Federal charges, murder for hire. Conspiracy, obstruction. Garrick's looking at life. He deserve it. Yes. More silence. Virginia passing outside the windows. Trees bare. Winter landscape. And Stellan, testifying for the prosecution. Immunity deal. He'll walk, but his career's over. His name's destroyed. That's its own punishment. Kieran nodded. Good. He helped kill Derek. He should carry that. They reached Durham as sunset painted the sky orange. Isabel drove to Arlington National Cemetery. Different entrance. Not tourists, not ceremony. Just rows of white headstones marching into distance. Section 60, recent veterans, Iraq, Afghanistan, training accidents. Derek's grave was simple. White marble, standard issue. Lieutenant Derek Ashford, United States Army, 1964 to 1991, in honor of service and sacrifice. Kieran stood looking at it. Isabel hung back. Giving him space, he knelt, placed one hand on the stone. Cold marble, solid, real. Hey, little brother, sorry it took so long, but I finished it. Got the proof. Got the bastard. Dad's name is clear. Your name is clear. You were right about all of it. His voice caught slightly. Wish you were here to see it. But I guess you knew. You always knew. Always trusted the river. He stood, looked at Isabel. He used to say that. Our dad, when things got hard. Trust the river. It knows where it's going. Just let it carry you. Derek trusted it. Led him to the truth. Led him to death. Led him to both. Sometimes they're the same thing. They walked back to the car. The cemetery was closing. Guards making rounds. Flags at half-mast. You want to see your father's grave? Isabel asked. Kieran shook his head. Tomorrow, tonight I just want to sleep, in a real bed, without guards, without concrete walls. Where are you staying? The house in Durham. Haven't been there since before. Want company. Not staying. Just making sure you're okay. Yeah, that'd be good. They drove to the house. Small, 2-bedroom, paint still peeling. Kieran unlocked the door. The smell hit him. Dust, closed air, home. He walked through, living room, kitchen, Derek's room, still frozen in time. Metallica posters, basketball schedule from 1988. He picked up the photograph from the desk, the 4 of them. Before cancer, before Panama, before everything. This time he didn't put it face down. I'm keeping it, he said. Reminder. Of what? That we were happy once. That it was real. That it mattered. Isabel nodded. I'll go, let you rest, but call if you need anything. Okay. Okay. She left. Kieran stood in the empty house. His house now. Not his father's. Not Derek's. His. He went to the basement, pulled out the loose stone. The waterproof case was still there. Derek's laptop, the files that had started everything. He opened it, booted it up. Password Winters. Derek's emails appeared. The investigation, the evidence, the final message. Big brother, finish this. Don't let them win. Always trust the river. I love you. Kieran closed the laptop, put it back, replaced the stone. It's finished, Derek. We won. He went upstairs, lay on his old bed, stared at the ceiling. For the first time in 8 months, he slept without dreams. 3 months later, federal courthouse, Washington, D.C., United States versus Thorne. Murder for hire, conspiracy, obstruction of justice. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Every day the courtroom was packed. Military brass, journalists, families of the dead. Kieran sat in the gallery every day, front row, watching. The prosecution built their case methodically, document by document, witness by witness. Day 1, FBI Special Agent Morrison testified, explained the investigation, the frame-up, the pattern of deaths. Day 2, Isabel Ravencroft, attorney, former paralegal, Derek's friend. She laid out the evidence. Derek's files, the financial trail, Northwood Solutions, 11 payments, 11 deaths. Day 3, Captain Stellan Thorne, Garrick's nephew, the man who'd helped frame Kieran. He testified for 6 hours. Everything. Every conversation, every betrayal, every lie his uncle had told. The defense attorney tried to break him, accused him of lying for immunity, of fabricating evidence to save himself. Stellan's response was simple. I helped my uncle murder Derek Ashford. I helped him frame Kieran Ashford. I'm not lying now. I'm finally telling the truth. Day 4, Robert Crane, specialist, Panama veteran, survivor. He testified about the ambush, the intelligence that was ignored, the 6 men who died because Garrick Thorne wanted a promotion. We knew we were walking into a kill zone. Major Ashford tried to adjust. Colonel Thorne ordered us forward anyway. Brennan died first. Then Cross, Holloway, Hayes, Simmons, Rodriguez. 6 good men, 6 unnecessary deaths. The courtroom was silent. Day 5, Marcus Tennant testified via video, still active duty, still afraid, but telling the truth. Day 6 through 10, financial experts, communications analysis, digital forensics, building the case layer by layer. Day 11, the prosecution rested. Day 12, the defense called Garrick Thorne. He took the stand in full dress uniform, ribbons, medals, 3 decades of service displayed for the jury. His attorney led him through prepared testimony. Devoted officer, difficult decisions, fog of war, intelligence uncertainty. Colonel Thorne, did you deliberately send Major Ashford's team into an ambush? No, I made a command decision based on available intelligence. Sometimes those decisions result in casualties. That's the nature of combat operations. Did you order the deaths of 11 soldiers? No, I had no involvement in any deaths beyond normal combat operations. Did you frame Captain Kieran Ashford? No, I had no knowledge of the case against Captain Ashford until after his conviction. Smooth, calm, believable. Then the prosecution cross-examined. The assistant U.S. attorney, Sarah Chen, 38 years old, former Army JAG. She knew how military officers thought, how they lied. Colonel Thorne, you testified you had no knowledge of the case against Captain Ashford. Is that correct? That's correct. But you work in the Pentagon Operations Directorate, 3 floors above where Captain Ashford was assigned during his temporary duty. The Pentagon has 23,000 employees. I don't know all of them. You knew Captain Ashford specifically. You spoke with him during his assignment, in a conference room, alone. You warned him to stop investigating Panama. Didn't you? Garrick paused. I may have had a brief conversation with him. I don't recall the specific content. You don't recall warning him that investigating his father's case would be painful, that he should let it go. I may have offered advice as a mentor. As a mentor, or as someone trying to stop an investigation into your crimes. Objection, argumentative. Sustained. Chen pulled out a document. Colonel Thorne, do you recognize this handwriting? She projected it on the screen. The Panama Intelligence Report. The margin note in Garrick's handwriting. Ashford team proceeds as planned. If casualties occur, useful for career adjustment. The courtroom murmured. Is that your handwriting, Colonel? Garrick's jaw tightened. I'd need a handwriting expert to verify. We have one, 3 actually, all confirmed it's your handwriting. So I'll ask again. Is that your handwriting? Silence. Colonel, it appears to be. And what does it mean if casualties occur, useful for career adjustment? It means it's taken out of context. The context is clear. You received intelligence about an ambush. You sent the team anyway. Because if they died, you could blame Major Ashford and advance your career. Isn't that right? No, that's a misinterpretation. Chen pulled out another document. This is a wire transfer, $50,000, from an account you control, to Boyd Merrick, 2 days before Sergeant Marcus Brennan died in a vehicle accident. Can you explain that? I don't recall that transaction. Here's another, $50,000, to Vance Drexler, 1 week before Lieutenant James Holloway died in a friendly fire incident. Explain that. I'd need to review my financial records. We have them, 11 transfers, 11 deaths, all from accounts you controlled, to contractors who specialize in making deaths look accidental. She pulled out more documents. The communications, the encrypted messages, package delivered. Brennan, vehicle accident, clean, confirmed. Hayes, rappel equipment failure, no witnesses. D. Ashford, becoming problem. Has evidence, arrange accident, each one projected on the screen, each one damning. These are communications between you and Boyd Merrick, discussing the murders of 11 soldiers, your soldiers, men who trusted you, men who served this country. You had them killed to protect your career, to hide your mistakes, to cover your crimes. Garrick said nothing. Do you deny these are your communications? They're encrypted, could be fabricated. The FBI's digital forensics team traced them to your personal accounts, your devices, your IP addresses. They're real, and you know it. Chen stepped closer to the witness stand. Colonel Thorne, you spent 30 years serving this country. You led men in combat. You earned medals, ribbons, recognition, and you threw it all away. For what? Pride, ambition, fear. She turned to the jury. 11 men died because this defendant couldn't admit a mistake, couldn't accept responsibility, couldn't tell the truth. And when people got close to exposing him, he killed them too. Derek Ashford, Flynn Beckett. And he tried to destroy Kieran Ashford, lock him away, let him die in prison. Back to Garrick. You're not a soldier anymore, Colonel. You're a murderer, and the jury will see that. Objection. Withdrawn. No further questions. Garrick stepped down, face pale, hands shaking slightly. The jury had seen enough. Day 13, closing arguments. Day 14, deliberations. 4 hours. The jury returned. On the count of conspiracy to commit murder. How do you find guilty? On the count of murder for hire. Count 1. How do you find a guilty? Count 2, guilty. Count 3, guilty. Through count 11, guilty on all counts. Sentencing. 2 weeks later, Judge Reynolds didn't hesitate. Colonel Garrick Thorne, you abused your position, betrayed your oath, murdered men who trusted you. The law allows for a maximum sentence of life imprisonment without possibility of parole. That is what you will receive. She looked at him. You will spend the rest of your life in federal prison. You will die there. That is the consequence of your choices. Garrick stood, shackled, guards on either side. He looked at the gallery, found Kieran. Their eyes met. One last time. Garrick's expression was empty. No rage, no regret, just nothing. They let him out, through the side door, the one prisoners used. Kieran watched him go, felt nothing, no satisfaction, no relief, just tired. Isabel touched his shoulder. It's done. I know. We won. I know that too. They walked out of the courthouse, into cold February afternoon. 1 year exactly since Kieran had returned from the Gulf. Since Derek had died. Since everything started. What now? Isabel asked. Now I visit my father. Tell him it's finished. His name is clear. Then I figure out what comes next. And what does come next, Kieran thought. I don't know, but something that matters. They parted at the parking lot, different cars, different lives ahead. Kieran drove to Arlington, Section 60, his father's grave, 3 rows from Derek's. Major William Ashford, United States Army, 1940 to 1990. Ranger, Airborne Courage, Honor, Service, Kieran knelt, same as he'd done at Derek's grave. Hey, Dad, it's done. Garrick's going to prison. Life sentence. Your name's cleared. The Army knows you didn't make a mistake in Panama, that you were right, that you tried to save your men. Wind blew through the cemetery, cold, sharp. I'm sorry it took so long, but I finished it. Derek started it. I finished it. The way you taught us. Never quit, never stop. Truth matters. Justice matters. He stood. Rest easy, Dad. You and Derek both. It's finished. He walked back to his car, drove out of Arlington, back toward Durham, but halfway there he pulled over, made a call. Isabel, you said something about helping soldiers who've been screwed by the system. Making sure Derek's death meant something. I did. You need help with that. Another investigator, someone who knows how the system works. Silence. Then, are you offering? Yeah, I think I am. Then yes, I need help. We start Monday. Monday it is. He hung up. Got back on the highway. The river knew where it was going. Derek had been right about that. You just had to trust it. The office was small, 2nd floor, Durham downtown, single window overlooking Main Street. Sign on the door, Ravencroft and Ashford. Military defense attorneys. Isabel sat at one desk, Kieran at the other, paperwork between them. Case files, appeals, investigations. Soldiers who'd been framed, discharged unfairly, court-martialed for crimes they didn't commit. 6 months, 12 cases, 8 wins, 2 pending, 2 still under investigation. It wasn't glamorous, the pay was terrible, the hours long, but it mattered. Kieran's phone rang. Unknown number. Ashford. Mr. Ashford, this is Corporal James Reeves, Fort Bragg. I got your number from someone, said you help soldiers who've been screwed. I do. What's the situation, Brian? They're saying I stole equipment, night vision gear, worth $30,000. But I didn't take it. Someone planted it in my barracks. Now they're charging me. Court-martial in 6 weeks. I don't know what to do. Kieran looked at Isabel. She nodded. They had room. Corporal Reeves, we'll take your case. Send us everything. Police reports, witness statements. Timeline, everything you have. You'll help, even though I can't pay what. We'll work something out. That's not what this is about. Relief in the corporal's voice. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We haven't won, but we'll fight for you, that I promise. He hung up, made a note. Case 13. Planted evidence, Isabel asked. Sounds like it. Remind you of anything? Yeah, it does. They went back to work. Investigation, evidence, building the defense. At 1700, they locked up, walked out together. Dinner, Isabel asked. Can't. I have something tonight. What? Remember that journalist Adelaide Frost? The one Garrick tried to bomb. The Washington Post reporter. Yeah, she's doing a piece, long-form investigation, about Garrick, the 11 soldiers, the cover-up. She wants to interview me on the record. You sure about that? Derek would want people to know the truth, all of it, not just the court record, the whole story. Isabel nodded. Okay, but be careful. Media's tricky. I know, but Adelaide's one of the good ones. She helped expose Garrick. She deserves to tell the story right. They parted, different directions. Kieran drove to a coffee shop. Neutral ground, public place. Adelaide Frost waited at a corner table. 52 years old, gray hair, sharp eyes, notebook and recorder on the table. Captain Ashford, thank you for meeting. Just Kieran now, not Captain. You earned the rank. Doesn't matter what you wear. They ordered coffee, sat. Adelaide turned on the recorder. This is for attribution. Everything on the record. Okay. Okay. Tell me about Derek. How did this start? Kieran talked for 2 hours. Everything. Derek's investigation, the encrypted files, the frame-up, prison, Isabel's help, the witnesses, Stellan's betrayal and redemption, the Pentagon confrontation, the trial, all of it. Adelaide took notes, asked questions, probed deeper. When he finished, she turned off the recorder. This is going to be a major piece. Front page, maybe a series, maybe a book eventually. I don't need recognition. I just need people to know what happened. That Garrick didn't get away with it, that the truth came out. It will, I promise you that. She packed her things. One more question. Off the record. Okay. Was it worth it? Everything you went through. Prison, the trial, all of it. Was justice worth the cost? Kieran thought. Long moment. Derek died investigating this. My father died dishonored. 11 soldiers died and no one knew why. If I hadn't finished it, they'd still be dead. And Garrick would still be free. Still killing. He met her eyes. So yeah, it was worth it. Because now people know. Now their families know. Now the army knows. Truth matters, even when it costs everything. Adelaide nodded. I'll make sure I get it right. She left. Kieran sat alone, finished his coffee, looked out the window. Durham, quiet town, nothing special. But home. His phone buzzed. Text from Isabel. Case 13 files arrived. Looks worse than we thought. Meeting tomorrow, 800, he texted back. I'll be there. Another case, another fight, and another soldier who needed help. The work continued, the way Derek would have wanted, the way their father would have wanted. Kieran stood, walked out into the evening, cold air, clear sky, stars just beginning to appear. Somewhere in a federal prison, Garrick Thorne sat in a cell. Life without parole, dying slowly in a cage. Somewhere in Arlington, Derek and William Ashford rested under white marble, honored, remembered, vindicated. And here in Durham, the fight continued. Different battles, different enemies, but same principles. Truth, justice, honor. Some things didn't change. Kieran got in his truck, started the engine, headed home. Tomorrow would bring new cases, new challenges, new fights. But tonight he could rest. The war was over. The truth had won, and that finally was enough.